Well, everyone around you is posing for selfies, begging strangers to take group photos, and documenting every single moment of their lives. You're doing everything possible to avoid the camera. And according to psychology, your brain might be protecting something far more valuable than anyone realizes. Stay with me because what I'm about to reveal will completely change how you see those people constantly shoving phones in your face. Here's the thing nobody talks about. Hating having your picture taken doesn't make you insecure. It doesn't mean you're vain, and it definitely doesn't mean you hate how you look. Though that's what everyone assumes. But there is something fascinating happening in your psychology that's completely different from the 73% of people who post photos of themselves weekly. Let's start with the obvious question. Why do so many people love being photographed? Humans have an innate desire for social validation. For thousands of years, being seen meant being valued. Your visibility in the tribe determined your status, your safety, your survival. And photos, they're basically modern proof of existence with better lighting. When someone posts a photo and gets likes, their brain releases dopamine, the reward chemical, the same substance that makes you crave chocolate or check your phone obsessively. Wild, right? Their brain literally rewards them for being visible. But here's where it gets interesting. People who hate being photographed often have what psychologists call high internal locus of identity. Their sense of self isn't dependent on external validation. They don't need visual proof that they exist or that they matter. They know who they are without a camera conferring it. And there's actual research on this. A 2018 study from the Journal of Personality found that people with camera aversion scored significantly higher in self-concept clarity. Translation, they have a more stable, consistent sense of who they are. They don't need the mirror of social media to tell them. But wait, it gets deeper. Because what happens in the brain when you see a photo of yourself is legitimately unsettling. You know that weird feeling when you hear your recorded voice and think, that's not me? That's cognitive dissonance. Your brain is experiencing a conflict between your internal self-image and external reality. Photos do the same thing, but worse. Every single day you see yourself in the mirror. That image is reversed. It's also dynamic, moving, three-dimensional. And for people with high self-awareness, that gap between internal and external self is jarring. Studies using neuroimaging show that viewing photos of yourself activates different brain regions than viewing your mirror reflection. The photo triggers more analytical processing, more self-criticism, more existential discomfort. You're literally seeing yourself as an object, not a subject. And here's the kicker. People who hate being photographed are often more present in actual moments. Think about it. While everyone else is performing for the camera, adjusting angles, checking how they look, you're actually experiencing life. Research from the University of Southern California found that excessive photo taking actually impairs memory formation. The act of photographing replaces the act of remembering. People who avoid cameras often have richer, more detailed memories of experiences because they weren't distracted by documenting them. Their brains were fully engaged, not split between living and performing. But there's another layer most people miss. Camera aversion is often about control. When someone takes your photo, they're capturing a version of you that you didn't choose. They're freezing a moment, an expression, an angle that you can't edit or approve. For people with high autonomy needs, that loss of control feels violating. Psychologist Dr. Sherry Turkle, who studies technology and identity, found that people who resist being photographed often have stronger boundaries. They're protective of their image, their narrative, their story. They don't want someone else controlling how they're seen or remembered. And that's not vanity. That's self-preservation. Now, let's talk about something that sounds contradictory. Many people who hate being photographed actually have high visual intelligence. They notice details others miss: the unflattering angle, the awkward lighting, the forced smile that doesn't reach the eyes. They see the artificiality of the whole performance. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. A 2020 study have found that people with camera aversion scored higher in aesthetic sensitivity. They're more attuned to visual composition, authenticity, and emotional congruence. Translation, they can spot a fake moment from a mile away, and they refuse to participate in creating one. So why don't camera-loving people feel that same discomfort? It's about identity construction. For some people, the photo is part of how they build their sense of self. It's external scaffolding for internal identity. They're curating a visual narrative of who they are or who they want to be. People who hate cameras don't need that scaffolding. Their identity is internally constructed, not externally performed. They know who they are without needing to show it. And let's be honest about something else. For some people, camera aversion is rooted in past experiences. Maybe photos were used against them. Maybe they were mocked for how they looked in a picture. Maybe they grew up in a culture where being photographed felt invasive or dangerous. Your resistance might have a backstory. Or maybe you just find the whole ritual performative and exhausting. Both are valid. But here's the part that explains so much about why camera lovers and camera avoiders sometimes can't understand each other. It comes down to how you experience authenticity. Camera lovers find authenticity in documentation. The photo proves it happened, proves they were there, proves they felt something. It's tangible evidence of experience. People who avoid cameras find that same documentation inauthentic. They think, why would I interrupt a genuine moment to create a staged version of it? Why would I perform happiness instead of just feeling it? They're not wrong, but neither are the photo takers. It's just two different approaches to the human need for meaning and memory. One group preserves moments through images. The other preserves them through presence. Here's what researchers call the performance paradox. The more you perform an emotion for a camera, the less you actually feel it in the moment. Studies on emotional authenticity show that self-monitoring during experiences reduces emotional intensity. When you're thinking about how you look, you're not fully feeling what you're experiencing. People who refuse photos are often protecting their emotional authenticity. They want to feel the moment, not perform it. And here's what's really interesting. Camera avoiders often report deeper satisfaction with experiences. They're not comparing their reality to the curated image. They're not experiencing the post-photo letdown when the picture doesn't match the feeling. There's something quietly powerful about that. If this is resonating with you, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to The Mind Edit, because we're creating a space for people who think differently, and your support helps us reach more people who need to hear this. Now, let's talk about the social pressure, because refusing photos in a photo-obsessed culture takes real courage. Every time someone says, "Come on, just one picture," you're being asked to violate your own boundaries. You're being told your comfort matters less than their documentation. And when you say no, you're labeled difficult, insecure, or antisocial. But here's what's actually happening. You're asserting autonomy over your own image and experience. You're refusing to be an extra in someone else's curated narrative. You're choosing presence over performance. Psychologists call this boundary integrity. It's the ability to maintain your values even under social pressure. And people who consistently avoid cameras often score higher in this trait. They're not people pleasers. They're self-directed. They know what feels right for them, and they honor it, even when it's uncomfortable, even when people don't understand. There's also a neurological component most people don't know about. Some individuals have what's called heightened self-focused attention. Their brains are more aware of how they're being perceived, not out of vanity, but out of sensitivity. When a camera appears, their prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for self-monitoring, goes into overdrive. They're hyper-aware of every micro-expression, every angle, every potential judgment. It's exhausting, and it's not something they can just turn off. Research from the Max Planck Institute found that people with this trait often have higher empathy and social awareness. They're reading the room constantly. They notice what others miss, and cameras amplify that awareness to an uncomfortable degree. But here's something fascinating. Many camera avoiders have no problem with candid photos, photos where they didn't know they were being captured, photos where they weren't performing, because those images feel authentic. They capture a real moment, not a manufactured one. The difference isn't the photo itself, it's the performance requirement. It's the forced smile, the unnatural pose, the awareness of being watched. That's what feels violating. And let's address the elephant in the room. Social media has made this so much worse. It's not just about taking a photo anymore. It's about that photo being posted, tagged, commented on, and permanently archived in the digital universe. For people who value privacy, that's terrifying. They're not just avoiding a camera, they're protecting their digital footprint, their autonomy, their right to be forgotten. A 2022 study on digital privacy found that camera-averse individuals scored significantly higher in privacy concern and lower in exhibitionism. They're not hiding. They're choosing what parts of themselves to share and with whom. That's not insecurity. That's intentionality. Here's what this all comes down to. People who hate being photographed aren't broken. They're not missing out on some essential human experience. They're just wired differently. Their sense of identity, their need for control, their relationship with authenticity, it's all calibrated in a way that makes cameras feel intrusive rather than fun. And that's perfectly okay. In fact, there's something deeply grounded about refusing to perform your life for an audience, about choosing to exist fully in moments without needing proof, about protecting your image, your narrative, your boundaries. The next time someone pressures you to be in a photo and you feel that familiar resistance, remember this: you're not being difficult. You're honoring a psychological need that's just as valid as their need to document. You're choosing presence over performance, authenticity over appearance, internal validation over external proof. And in a world obsessed with being seen, there's something radically powerful about choosing to simply be. Your brain isn't wired wrong. It's wired for depth, for presence, for authenticity. And those aren't weaknesses. They're strengths that a camera-obsessed culture desperately needs. So the next time someone says, just one picture, and every cell in your body screams no, trust that instinct. You're not missing the moment, you're living it fully, authentically, without the need for proof. And that might just be the most photographable thing about you, the fact that you refuse to be captured. If this resonated with you, you're probably going to love our video on why some people never post on social media and what that says about their psychology. It dives even deeper into the minds of people who choose privacy over performance. Click the video on your screen to discover why you might be wired to stay invisible in a world that demands to be seen.